So the big news that's been happening all week that the left seems to be latching onto, and is a really good example of anarcho-tyranny, is this dude Jordan Neely, who died after he was choked and he was subdued and then choked on a train. And we got this news story from the New York Post. 911 flooded with calls, including reports of a gun, while Jordan Neely was fatally choked on train. They say a total of 5 emergency calls were made over a 4-minute span just before 2:30 p.m. Monday, when now identified 24-year-old Daniel Penny held Neely in a chokehold on the floor of the northbound F train. The first call came in at 2:26, was reporting a physical fight on the subway, followed by another 1 minute later, someone reporting on the train threatening riders. So it sounds like this guy, Neely, had already attacked people, then was threatening people, because you can't have one call come in and then a call come in after, right? So people are saying the original story was that Neely was threatening people and then he got subdued. Sounds like he attacked people, then went on to threaten people, and then later a third caller said he was armed with a knife or a gun. Wow. It was unclear whom the caller was referring to, though, Neely or Penny, so we don't know for sure. But I really don't think they're talking about the 3 men who subdued this guy. Now, what's ended up happening is, I think I have a tweet from AOC. She tweets, "I have yet to hear a real explanation from any official hesitating to condemn the killing of Jordan Neely about what makes condemning this violence so complicated. It's not complicated. There's nothing I'll tell you this. AOC, let me make it easy for you. I condemn Jordan Neely's violence. I condemn your soft on crime policies that resulted in 25 people last year being shoved in front of trains with 2 of them dying. I condemn you and your actions. And I commend the men who tried stopping this violent man. And I am sad that Jordan Neely lost his life. Was that so difficult? I hand it to you, panel.
I mean, this is also something we're seeing a lot in my city of Vancouver. First of all, I think public transport is very quickly becoming a human rights violation. We just had an ISIS stabbing where a teenager had his throat slit on the subway, another gentleman killed. A lot of you probably saw the Starbucks stabbing in Vancouver.
What? No.
You didn't see it? So it was on footage. Some guy was fatally stabbed in front of his toddler because he asked a guy to stop vaping, and it was actually with a religious knife from a Sikh gentleman, I think, in broad daylight in Vancouver. And it's all of these people. This was like 2-3 weeks ago.
Whoa.
It's a whole lot of people with mental health issues that keep being released on the street. 40 individuals, this was last year, committed over 3,000 crimes in 1 year in Vancouver, and they can't figure it out. They can't figure out what to do. You give that list of 40 people to a toddler, and they can tell you what to do with it. Put them in jail. Put them in jail if they have committed.
Oh, I did see this.
Right.
I did see this story. I did not realize that's what had caused it.
Yeah.
I just saw the video was like, whoa, that guy got stabbed, yo, and he's just watching as the dude bleeds out.
Yeah, he asked him to stop vaping.
And none of that's ever condemned, right? The fact that we live in a culture that doesn't see this as out of the ordinary, but loses its mind when somebody tries to defend themselves, is never condemned by any of these political leaders who claim to care so much about human life.
No, it's because they're evil, right?
Yeah,
so it's like, listen, like, I'll use traditional comic book and cartoon lore. The villain is the one, like the Joker, releasing the inmates from prison and then laughing as the inmates terrorize people. And then when the superhero,
French Revolution, man.
When the superhero stops the criminals, they go, no! They get mad that it's happening. That's literally what we're seeing. Ocasio-Cortez is a comic book villain. She is Lex Luthor. She pretends to be of the people. They all celebrate her. That's quite literally what Lex Luthor represented. He was the perfect villain for Superman because he didn't have superpowers. He controlled society through corporations and wealth and means. AOC is certainly not extremely wealthy, but she uses her influence to defend the criminals and condemn the victims. She lied about January 6th, and she's trying to condemn innocent people now.
Politicians need to be forced to take the subway every day if they have an opinion like that, if they think that he was the victim in this situation. Obviously, I think no one should have been put in this situation. Everyone was the victim of an extremely broken system.
Yeah, but in the moment, the man who is threatening people is the perpetrator.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're like, but he's mentally ill. So what?
Well,
Like-
he never should have been out there running around on the bus threatening people in the first place.
Well,
Yeah,
right?
right. We need
this is-
institutions for these people.
Exactly. There needs to be institutions for these people. We need to have real, frank conversations about what has to be done about the decline of mental health in the United States that aren't just, let's say, nice platitudes and throw money at a system that isn't going to actually do anything. And especially when you have political leaders like AOC who want for there to be national mass public transit from one side of the nation to the other with these massive railways, and they're not even doing anything to ensure that the mass transit in their own cities are safe for people or is safe for people. It's like, okay, now you want this to be the only option people have on a national scale. You want to start to slowly do away with highways and ensure that the only way people can get across the country is by riding these railways when the railways in your city are extremely dangerous and you're not doing anything to make them safe?
I think one thing that could be done is that we could do some sort of prison reform where we start putting webcams in prisons for inmates that are supervised and allow them to communicate with therapists and family. So we really do turn it into a sort of, I don't know, a place where people can actually become better, as opposed to just retribution and vengeance. And we don't want people to suffer in prison. We want them to become better humans.
But I can take it one step further. I realized this the other day. Very, very simple solution. If you break the law, you are we forcefully give you the Neuralink implant and then plug you in and delete from your brain criminality.
Dude, no joke. That is something
There we
that
go.
could happen. I think
Sounds like a Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, they were talking about neural net. I think
just
early
delete
on
that
when
file
they were
right
talking
there.
about Elon was talking about neural net that you could dampen emotional receptors with it. I think that they were actually talking about that. The
So
scientists working on it.
we just put like the Neuralink thing on them, and then if they ever are about to commit a crime, it just slows down their motor functions until they stop.
They can't.
And then the opportunity stops, and then they can only resume if they, in their mind, reject.
But then the thing is, so you'll have some dude who wants to go out and commit crimes and he'll start to slow down and people go, well, help that man. There's something wrong. And they'll go try to comfort him and then he'll reach in and take their wallet.
A simple thing is the device will start going, this man is experiencing criminal desires. This man is experiencing criminal desires. And that's like, steer clear, stay away, stay away.
Stay away.
Yeah, I
It
don't-
just broadcasts your thoughts really loudly all the time. Everyone just has that's so horrible. Everyone just has their thoughts shouted from a speaker at all times.
You know what's wild to me is like when you're younger and you look at criminality, you think it's like a super big deal. Like, oh my gosh, your life is going to be over if you commit a crime. Like, this is insane. And then you get older, and I was actually assaulted in a grocery store a few years ago. Some guy grabbed my butt, but he grabbed the wrong butt, I'll tell you right now, because I sent him straight to jail.
Wow.
But it turns out he was on bail like that week. He had just gotten out of jail for serial assault, had grabbed 4 other women in the shops that morning. None of them wanted to come to court, but I was willing to. I was like, yeah, I'll put forward a statement and take the CCTV footage and everything. But it's like wild to me that he knows mere days after getting out of jail on bail, he's like, let's go get back on the streets,
'cause he knows
grabbing
the
ladies.
system. He
And
knows
it's
the
like,
system.
Well, and
That's why.
especially because, look, this is another thing that often goes unacknowledged, but sex criminals have one of the highest rates of recidivism, if not the highest rate. So you can't just let them out on bail.
Yeah, we got to put the Neuralink thing in them. That's what I'm saying.
How did you get that guy put away? What was your process?
I called the police after and I was like, hey, this happened. Oh, and here's another thing. Like, a bunch of people watched it happen and they all just kind of froze. Everyone freezes when there's something like criminal that happens.
it's like in that
In
Starbucks
Canada,
video.
maybe.
Yeah.
It's almost
in that
like
Starbucks
so
video.
cold.
The guy in the background just sitting there drinking his coffee.
Yep.
Like,
Or
it's
the
just
guy on the
another
phone
day.
being like, yo, he got stabbed. Wow.
and I don't blame
Dude, there
them
was
because
that
people
one
are
where the guys, did you see the one where the guy got shot on camera?
Where?
There was one not that long ago. You don't actually see it happen on camera, but
Don't you guys remember The Simpsons when Mr. Burns got shot by Maggie? And
you just spoiled it.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
he explains that like after he got shot, he found only lollygaggers. And it's like Jimbo going like, whoa, and just like pointing at him as he's like dying.
That's right.
Simpsons predicted all this.
Yeah, I don't want a society where people just stand by and watch people get violently assaulted. But
Yeah,
we'd like to create a system where people are afraid to intercede because they might become arrested for hurting some
that's
criminal.
the thing.
This is what I was thinking. I'm like, no one. Well, first of all, there were a lot of women there, so they don't want to go up against a man unless they have guns, and no one has guns outside of America. And then there's also the fact that, yeah, if you're a man and you actually win that fight and you do the heroic thing you're taught to do as a child, you save the woman in distress, whatever, goodbye life. You're going to jail.
Like this
That's
dude.
the thing. They won't be as kind to you, right? They're not going to let you out of prison. They're going to throw the book at you. So, and even if you didn't actually do anything that rises to the level of a crime. So here's a great story that many people in the audience may unfortunately not have heard of. Mark Houck, over a year ago, was protesting outside of an abortion clinic, and he was just there praying with his son. And every time he went there and prayed, there was an older man who would shout obscenities and disgusting things at his son. And so finally one day, this old man comes over to him and starts approaching his son to assault him, and Mark Houck pushes the old man away. The Soros-funded prosecutor in that area said, there's nothing to charge this man with. There's literally nothing to charge this man with. There's no case here. But a year later, the FBI and DOJ, or the DOJ decides to charge him. The FBI raids his house, and they try to get him convicted with a penalty that would result in him going to prison for 11 years.
For pushing a guy?
For pushing a guy. Yeah, they were saying it was a violation of the FACE Act. And again, the Soros-funded prosecutor in his area a year earlier said there was no case, there was nothing to follow. But because he has the wrong political values, because he was protesting abortion, we should lock him up and throw away the key. We have mercy for people who are violent criminals and let them back out onto the street to harm everybody else.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.